بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear friends, welcome to Idea Foundation Forum. Today we will discuss the research topic 6 major reasons of the Muslims' decadence. Under the sixth subtopic, failure in depicting the real face of Islam. Failure in depicting the real face of Islam. In the previous 6 lectures, we tried to identify major reasons of the Muslims' decadence. Each of them, no doubt, gave awesome explanation of this decadence. Awesome explanation. However, as history witnessed, some socio-cultural and religious disorientations or deviations from the spirit of Islam were turned into strong negative perceptions and propagated by the evil forces so widely that the true image of this great religion, rooted deeply into the Abrahamic tradition, was hugely tarnished by labeling it as aggressive, anti-peace, anti-human rights, retrogressive, or static and autocratic religion. This is entirely based on either false perceptions or malicious designs. More tragic and mind-boggling is the response of Islamic leadership. Justice could never be done to explore, document, and present the real image of Islam, which carries highly humanitarian and progressive values. Either the leadership itself has been ignorant of the peaceful, just, benevolent, and progressive doctrines of Islam, or those who were aware of the truth found convenient to go with the winds due to their vested interests or fear of resistance. In reality, the said doctrines were much more superior to the pluralistic values and human rights protocols developed by the modern world much later. But unfortunately, we as Muslim community failed to project the truth of Islam and confront the negative propaganda wisely that made other communities hostile to Islam. In today's lecture, we will try to identify the real face of Islam and false perceptions maliciously designed against it. So, dear friends, under the grand plan of the man's creation, Allah appointed him his vicegerent on the earth with extraordinary command over its resources of the earth, for a short span of time to perform the obligations of the purpose of his creation. The man was clearly told that his status in the hereafter would depend upon quality of his performance against the assigned role. Now imagine Allah's love for the man. He sent his divine guidance, his books, to enable the man accomplish the purpose of his creation, the role as Allah's vicegerent in the most befitting manner, and defy the Iblis' evil maneuverings. Allah blessed the mankind with the divine message through his messengers and divine books derived from the single source of Ummul Kitab, preserved with him, preserved with Allah. Thus the message was unique in spirit and contents for all the messengers and religions. However, its scope and geographic coverage kept on expanding with changing needs of the mankind. This continuity and commonality of the divine message across the divine religions have been described in several verses of the Quran as shown on the screen. It got its finality with the arrival of the Quran in terms of scope and spatio-temporal, time and space relevance. The message of the Quran has no conflict with the other divine religions in terms of their objectives. However, the said inclusivity of its scope and relevance made it essential its adoption. Its adoption was also necessitated as the previous divine books had lost authenticity due to loss of their original script or their corruption at later times. Thus, the believers of other religions need to be apprised, need to be told, need to be briefed that Islam does not preach its superiority. Rather, it seeks attention of the humanity towards the truth common to the prophetic mission of the messengers of all the divine religions. So, dear friends, in lecture number 3, we have framed a statement for the purpose of the man's creation, which was to establish a just, peaceful, and perpetually growing materially as well as intellectually society, ensuring complete submission to Allah's will and well-being of the humanity. To achieve this purpose, the man's ultimate goals, are to ensure submission to the will of Allah and well-being of the humanity, which lie in the pursuit of justice, equity, peace, prosperity, and freedom for the mankind. This is, in fact, legacy of the prophetic mission, binding on the believers of all the divine religions, not only to Islam or Muslims. While on the other hand, Iblis could not appreciate the divinity of the man at his creation by virtue of his soul and knowledge he was blessed with. Iblis not only disobeyed Allah's command to prostrate before the man, claiming his material superiority, but he also sought empowerment from Allah to distract the man from his assigned role through his evil maneuverings, deceptions. His egotism and static materialistic mindset did not let him appreciate the divine intent behind the creation of the man. Such was the Iblis mindset that founded the doctrine of materialism and determinism that may be called the legacy of Iblis. Thus, the believers of all the religions are obligated to accomplish all the elements of the assigned purpose of creation and unite against the forces of evil to fight out their evil designs against humanity. Success of the believers in this context lies in their unity, whereas the evil forces have been weakening the believers by dividing them on the pretexts of geography, culture, and religion. Slogans like Clash of Civilizations or Clash of Creeds have been propagated by the evil forces to camouflage their devious strategies to divide innocent people, to keep them weak and ignorant of their nefarious maneuverings serving their own interests. The Quranic message is very clear and loud to fight against the forces of evil by creating unity among the whole mankind to establish the good and demolish the evil. The Quran asks the believers, all the believers, belonging to the prophetic mission, belonging to the Abrahamic mission, to stand against tyranny, injustice, and disorder until these are removed and peace and justice are restored. So, dear friends, contrary to materialist and determinist legacy of Iblis, the free personality accorded to the man negates the idea of determinism, which was held by Iblis as the integral part of materialism. Allah bless the man with free personality, with extraordinary command over the matters of the earth, and exposure to the ever-growing universe to explore the divinity behind the materiality of the universe and divinity inside his own self, so that he could get closer to the great creator, his great creator. In fact, Iblis' mindset intended to trap the man into the quagmire of determinism, depriving him of his great gift of free, dynamic, and evolutionary personality and progressive spirit. Besides denial to the will of Allah and preferring materialism and determinism on the creation of the man, Iblis' egotism and short-sightedness compelled him take a solo flight of self-interest. He didn't care the ethos, common sentiment of his community. Rather, he preferred to cherish his individualism, thus defying the laws of nature, which give the message of universalism, humanitarianism, and collectivism. Iblis preferred to love his individual interest instead of collective interest. So, my dear friends, run for self-interest in the life of the man emanated from the Iblis mindset. Individualism is part of the Iblis legacy. Thus, it is the mother of all the satanic evils. While the belief in the sovereignty of Allah, collective care, and social justice have been the core elements of the Quranic message, in continuity of the prophetic mission. This great message of Islam could not either be appropriately communicated to non-Muslims, or it had been distorted by the evil forces to keep the believers of prophetic mission divided, as their unity did not suit their exploitative socio-economic policies. We must understand. So, dear friends, as manifested in the previous religions, humanitarian outlook is dominant in Islam too. The majorities of populations throughout the history had been facing serious economic hardships due to heightened concentration of wealth and power in the hands of small but powerful elites. Every divine religion disproved such socio-economic disequilibrium. The first public proclamation that Hazrat Abraham made was, listen, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. How beautiful proclamation. That means he thought collective well-being as remedy to the evils of economic disequilibrium and social conflicts. The proclamation by Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this context was even more revolutionary and radical when he said, "He is not a Muslim who eats his fill when his neighbor is hungry." As in the case of previous messengers, the elites of Mecca took it that Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come not just to change people's religious beliefs, but also society itself. To them, to Meccan, these new ideas would threaten the established social order of Mecca and thus will lead to a socio-economic revolution, depriving the Meccans of their exploitative economic system and oppressive governance framework. Thus, believers of all the religions, listen, thus believers of all the religions must appreciate the most comprehensive humanitarian outlook of Islam as the continuity of the prophetic mission, and they should stand by the Muslims for achieving the humanitarian goals through Qur'anic principles of justice, equity, peace, progress, and benevolence. Dear friends, as we discussed earlier, the purpose of the man's creation is to ensure complete submission to the will of Allah and well-being of the mankind. Ideological basis, focus. Ideological basis for the well-being of the mankind is based on some Quranic principles. 10 such principles we will discuss now. First, the man was created on Allah's nature as revealed in the Quran. For that, the man is obliged to take care of his fellow beings because of the nature he is made of. The laws of nature sustain the universe as sign of benevolence. So the man learns from these laws to be benevolent and caring for his fellow being. Second, being the posterity of a single soul, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, the man's consciousness is inspired, is motivated with the sense of affinity for the humanity. Third, the Quran seeks attention of the man to the elements of nature whose peaceful operations and sustainability rest upon the principles of balance, order, equity, justice, and mutual care, submitting to the will of Allah, as narrated in Surah Ar-Rahman. Reference is shown on the screen. Thus, the mankind, being an important element of the nature, is desired to pursue these principles for ensuring its allegiance to the will of Allah, peace, prosperity, and freedom in this world. Fourth, the Quran presents the concept of growing universe, expanding universe, negating the classic view of static universe, and advises the man to learn knowledge and be productive, progressive, and innovative. Fifth, Islam in the context of human rights has liberated humanity from color, caste, hereditary and geographic distinctions about 1500 years ago. It offered equal rights to women and abolished slavery. The objective was to ensure well-being of the mankind by establishing equity, justice, and protection of human rights in the Islamic society. So sixth is, Islam has presented a very strong doctrine of economic equity by disproving concentration of wealth in a few hands as an exploitative tool of socio-economic disparities in the Muslim society. Zakat, charity, negation of interest, and pursuit for collective well-being are the major tools for ensuring socio-economic equity in the Muslim society. Such equity brings social peace, eliminating social evils caused by economic deprivations. Seventh, the believers of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam follow the Abrahamic traditions which focus on the well-being of the mankind in terms of peace, prosperity, and freedom that can only be ensured through unity based on mutual respect to socio-cultural and religious values and politico-economic interests. Eighth, contrary to capitalism and communism, Islam emphasizes on a balance between the individual and collective interests in economic sphere. Individual interest is recognized for operational efficiency, but Qur'anic teachings have devised a set of assured measures to protect and promote socio-economic equity by diluting concentration of wealth, minimizing economic disparity among various segments of society, ensuring social justice, and promoting well-being of the people. In the social sphere too, that was economic. In the social sphere too, Islam urges to fight against injustice and abuses of power or authority to promote a just, peaceful, and prosperous society. A little injustice in a society may lead to social chaos, threatening the very fabric of a society. Thus, collective interest of a society is well protected without dampening individual incentive, an essential mover for operational efficiency. Look at the beauty of balance. Ninth, the man's relationship with Allah is of direct nature. Thus, every individual is responsible for his acts in entirety, in totality. For that, he is obligated two sets of responsibilities related to his personal character and to the society at large. He will be accountable for both in person on the day of judgment. 10th, the Muslims are followers of the last messenger of Allah, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which necessitates them to be the role model of goodness and benevolence for the generations to come, so that the cause of Allah could be served, could be promoted effectively. So dear friends, with this we conclude our discussion here. These programs are recorded both in Urdu and English. Their videos can be watched on ideafoundation.com.pk website or its YouTube channel and Facebook. Their written versions are also available on the Idea Foundation's website. Please note code number of this program, Idea 1B or 30 or lecture number 137. All friends are requested to subscribe the Foundation's YouTube web channel for the benefit of this noble cause. Thank you friends for participation. Allah Hafiz.